Divas, I have done it. I have found the series of the year. What can I say? You found me at a very Australian time in my life.
So they can truss me up like a turkey.
Surprise!
And marry me off to some old stinker when I'm not looking.
Nice. Ditto.
Hi, I'm Lady Genevieve, and on my channel I talk about entertainment media. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my latest discoveries, recommendations, an absolute gem that I am delighted to have found. My Brilliant Career, a limited Australian series that's going to be releasing on Netflix on August 13th. 6 episodes, absolutely no filler, no wasting the audience's investment in whether or not the story will continue. You just get to sit back and enjoy the non-stop fun, heart, drama, comedy, romance, rebellion.
Beside the light that exploded inside me at his touch.
This series is based on a book of the same name by author Miles Franklin. My Brilliant Career is her best-known novel, and it was my first time reading any of her work. I watched the series first, and then I read the book by checking it out on Hoopla through my local library. My library didn't carry any physical copies of this book. That happens to be my preferred form of reading, but I work with what's available. Don't forget to support your local library, as they are a community resource, and they let you read books for free. Let's rewind a bit. The trailer for this popped up on my YouTube homepage, and I went, "What is that? Is that a period piece? Let me have a look." It appeared to be some sort of a romantic period piece. I looked up more information and saw that it was based on a book, and then I thought to myself, good enough, let me send a request. Fast forward through sending emails, I get my press screeners, and I was amazed to find out that this had so much more depth, so many dimensions than what the trailer was suggesting or previewing. I was completely blown away by how much fun I had and how emotionally invested and moved I ended up being by watching this series. The sense of humor and boundless empathy of this adaptation, further catapulted by a phenomenal ensemble of performers, make this the best series of the year. If you don't already know, I will tell you. My Brilliant Career follows a young woman named Sybylla who is sent to live with her grandmother, who in this version is played by Anna Chancellor. We love a bit of Anna Chancellor here on this channel. This woman has been serving performances for decades across numerous works for the girls. We have the Pride and Prejudice Limited series, which is the superior Pride and Prejudice adaptation, Argue with the Wall, What a Girl Wants, My Lady Jane, and now My Brilliant Career, in which she is doing it for the girls once again. I watched the series first, and then I read through the book in order to prepare to interview the series showrunner, creator, developer, a woman named Liz Doran. I might post that interview after I publish my review. I haven't fully decided yet the order of things. I've got a lot of videos I'm working on at the moment. If my interview is already up, please go watch it because I really enjoyed the insight that she had to offer into the series and her approach to adaptation. But if it's not published yet, just keep an eye out for me to publish it around the time of the show's premiere on Netflix. I also interviewed the star of the series, Philippa Northeast, who plays Sybylla. She was delightful. When I entered the virtual room, I had a book in my hand, and both Philippa and the publicist running the room were asking what I was reading, and I explained that I'm reading the book that was in my hand, as well as every other book on Joan of Arc my local library has, in anticipation of Baz Luhrmann's Joan of Arc movie. And then Philippa proceeds to start telling me how she's also looking forward to seeing that movie, and she was telling me some trivia about various making of the movie things that she knows, because clearly Australians in show business, people know each other. I won't tell you the specifics of what she said because we were not recording yet, but I share this bit of information to say that she was a delightful person to chat with. Make sure you watch that interview when I publish it, but now back to the review. Sybylla's family is determined to marry her off. It's a period piece, and as such, people need to marry for practical reasons. All the romance girlies who watch my channel, even on a semi-regular basis, we know this. We've seen that happen to many a period piece protagonist.
The only way a woman can have money is to marry into it.
Don't run out of time.
However, Sybylla's rebellious spirit, her passion for writing, make this task of finding someone to marry rather challenging. Things do not go according to plan, And that's a recurring issue for Sybylla. She's giving things her best effort, but nonetheless, they will go awry.
I've decided that I need to fully experience the world before I can write about it.
But worry not, she is resilient and she will persevere. If we talk a bit about some of the key differences between the book and the series, almost immediately, one of the first things you will notice is that the series is very funny. Sybylla in particular is a great source of comedy, though she's not the only funny character or the only character to end up in a funny situation. The book is many things, but funny? I don't think so. Not for me as a reader anyway. Sybylla's very headstrong in both versions, but the Sybylla you meet in the book, she's constantly going on and on about describing herself as being ugly, that she's not worthy of being loved or being a wife because she's ugly, that there's just no way anyone could genuinely love her because she's ugly. For myself as a reader, it grew really annoying. If you watch the series, you do not have the misfortune of suffering through a main girl named Sybylla who incessantly mopes and complains about being unattractive. Who cares what she looks like anyway? She's smart, funny, and she knows how to be a stunt queen. Even in the show's opening, which was most iconic to me in my viewing experience, if you are not quite sure about whether or not to watch this series, the opening minute of episode 1 will tell you exactly what type of girl she is. And moreover, when you watch the entirety of episode 1, you will get the context of this highly memorable opening, and if you have taste, you will like her even more for it. Sybylla's primary love interest is a man named Harry. In the book, Harry is known as Harold. I would say that he and many of the other characters in the ensemble are given far more nuance in their material and overall characterization in this limited series than they did in the book. The book is told from Sybylla's point of view, and she is so swept up in her own tempestuous feelings as well as her youthful naivete that she's not able to give the readers the level of insight into other folks' perspectives that you can glean from watching the limited series, from the writing itself, as well as the details the performers are able to infuse when bringing the characters to life. The showrunner opted to not only transform Harold into Harry, he's also now of Chinese heritage to give that acknowledgement to the history of Chinese immigrants to Australia. I appreciate the way this series handles race and a multitude of marginalized groups, particularly with this being a period piece. Whether the characters are women, people of color, or both, the story is very clear about how being a part of some sort of marginalized demographic does impact their lives, in how they're treated, opportunities or access to things, but it's also not making a spectacle out of the pain of experiencing that marginalization. It's striking a really thoughtful balance of not erasing the lived experiences or history of these groups, but also making something that's really fun and hopeful about finding the resilience to carry on despite those obstacles. Sybylla's secondary love interest, Frank, is heavily upgraded in this adaptation. In the book, this man is a pest, a nuisance, an unwelcome blight. Honestly, he was giving predatory incel vibes in the book. I didn't just want him gone when I read the book. I wanted him 12 feet under, because you dig twice as deep to ensure that he cannot even be resurrected by the Necronomicon.
Demon! I will kill you as many times as I have to.
But Frank on the show, they try to be a bit more fair in their assessment of who he is, why he is the way that he is, and give him the space to be a human being as opposed to a villainous freak the way that he was in the book. There are other secondary characters, some of which I can only say so much about without risking spoiling things that I am not allowed to spoil in an early review such as this. I do want to give a special mention, though, to Augusta, Harry's aunt. She is played by Kate Mulvaney, and when I was researching this series and I was looking through the cast and what other jobs they've done, Kate Mulvaney was a major diva of the lot. And why is that, you might ask? I just think he's different.
I don't know what it is you see in this boy.
I just think he's different.
Miss Kate was Marion in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. That's why I knew before I had even watched the series that she had it in her to deliver energy and humor and have the ability to steal a scene in just a few seconds. Absolutely everyone in this cast brings their best. There are no glaring standouts where loads of people are performing well and then there's someone who sticks out for all the wrong reasons. There is never anything wrong with the performances or any of the other technical elements that would cause a break in the viewer immersion. I wanted to save some of my favorite characters and relationships for the end of this review, though. This adaptation puts the perspective of Indigenous Australians into the spotlight. We have Nell, who works with horses in the Bossier household. More specifically, it's Kattegat. That's the name of the household Sybylla's grandmother is running, but hoping to pass on to the next generation, and those being her children. Nell's sister Betty works in the household, so I don't know the exact job title. Perhaps it would be a lady's maid or something to that effect. And we have Charlie, who is a drover, and he works for the Beechams. We usually see him at 5 Bob, although the Beechams own more than one property. By the way, I learned what a drover is because of Baz Luhrmann. Australia/Faraway Downs. That'll teach you some things if you don't already know them. Why is the Faraway Downs theme tune an absolute bop? Because Baz Luhrmann will put together an 11 out of 10 soundtrack every time. Insofar as Nell, Betty, and Charlie are concerned, there are so many details that I loved about how these characters navigate the world, their relationships with each other. I will give you a couple of examples. The way that Nell and Betty speak to each other sounds different than when they are speaking to the white people from the Squatocracy. I got the impression that it's the Indigenous period piece version of code switching. There is tremendous specificity in who these sisters are. They have different personalities, jobs, even a noteworthy, I suppose I would call it an ideological difference that they have between them. That sisterhood is crackling with energy. It's a relationship that feels completely real, and you can intuit the history that they share between them. As for Charlie, from the first moment he and Nell met, I sat right up and said, hold on, what's going on here? The chemistry was instant. Do you know how wild that is for two characters to be so perfect for one another that I know right away I am shipping them? They haven't even done anything yet, but somehow I'm convinced. So what does that tell you about the romantic excellence those two were serving?
It's my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, me too.
There was a lot of input and research done to thoughtfully include important cultural aspects for these Indigenous characters, and it really came across in the final results. I appreciated how thoughtful their material was, and I hope that this series will be successful and, as a result, broaden the opportunities for more stories like theirs to be told, because it was definitely a highlight of a series that is already offering so many strengths. Overall, this story champions not only resilience, but it's a tale for dreamers. The primary commonality that impacts every single one of these characters is economics. Anything and everything to do with worrying about money and financial security. It's baked into the decisions everyone is making, what they prioritize or don't. It impacts the material reality of their lives. In spite of that burden, this ugly, oppressive thing in their lives, the story is a love letter to having dreams and finding a way to follow them. Not in an overly saccharine sense, there is a practicality and realism to how the narrative unfolds, but I find that this is one of the ways that the show is able to relate to the lived experiences of its audience. In a time where financial inequality is at an all-time high, when things are so dire that it reflects any number of instances across history when empires would fall, where do the people find the hope and bravery to follow their dreams, experience joy, express themselves authentically? That's what this series is about. I also think it feels even more timely to have a protagonist that dreams of being a writer when the very profession is under an existential threat, an attack, by things like the tech bros pushing AI, Media monopolies keep gobbling other companies up, which inevitably destroys more job opportunities for writers in film and television. And the WGA has come in at the 11th hour with a lawsuit to put the attempted acquisition of the Ellison-owned Paramount Pictures of Warner Brothers on hold. I don't think it's at all indulgent for a writer to write a story romanticizing the rebellious nature of being a writer. I think it's a timely mirror image of exactly what's going on currently in the real world. It's a period piece, yes, but the story is nonetheless a timely one. Thus, I highly recommend that you put My Brilliant Career on alert on your Netflix accounts so that you don't forget to watch this when it releases next week. 5 out of 5 viewing experience.
I hope that viewers just have a greater understanding of what it was like for all individuals back in that time period, but also to be able to learn more about our culture and, you know, our history and our wonderfully feminist history as well. I think sometimes Australia and our history might get a little forgotten or not taught overseas. And I think that film and TV is a wonderful education platform half of the time. And that's the case with period pieces, as we've seen historically. So I'm really just keen for that exposure to the world. I think it's going to be wonderful.
I really hope that it's joyful. I really hope it's a balm in this pretty fragile world for people. And I hope that women feel that they can stay true to their own internal path and make their external worlds match what they feel internally, one way or another.
I hope they take the same thing that I took away from when I read the book as a child and then when I saw the film, is that sometimes the choices that you make, particularly as a woman, are difficult and they're not the easiest choice, but the choice that you make that is the truest to yourself is the best choice to make for your future. That was complicated. Like, make the brave choice, see where it leads you. Don't just take what the world gives you and accept it, you know, like get out there, be brave and be bold.